how does it feel to have been vulnerable like that in a room of 24,000 people and I don't know how many millions of people watching at home?
It feels human, I think. I think being an athlete, people kind of disregard that side of us, the human side of things. And, people say so many things like, number 3 in the world and you're doing this or you're playing like this and you should be better and things like that. But like at the end of the day, like I feel like I've already, if I stopped and didn't pick up a racket tomorrow, I have a career that so many people would dream of. But I think I just showed people what it's like to be a human, and I have bad days, but I think it's more about how you get up after those bad moments and how you show up after that. And I think today I showed that I can get up after feeling the worst I've ever felt.
Coco Gauff completely upended the sports world. Instead of responding to a Fox Sports host decision to speak on live air, she filed a $50 million lawsuit. Indeed, $50 million. I want to ask you a question. Do you think Coco went too far? Or did Fox finally get what it deserved? This isn't your normal rivalry in sports. In the most cruel and deliberate way imaginable, one of the biggest names in tennis is yelling at one of the loudest voices on TV. Let's travel back in time. Everything started with what should have been a standard broadcast prior to the Miami Open. When Fox Sports was covering tennis as normal, one of the hosts took a chance. And when I say bold, I mean irresponsible. Instead of doing what commentators are paid to do, which is to analyze the game, this guy turned it into a personal attack on Coco Gauff, criticizing her maturity and attitude, and even asserting that her successes were more hype than skill. That quote is accurate. Indeed. The fact that he said it in real time was the worst part. There are no revisions or reconsiderations on national television, just a stain. Coco Gauff has long been the target of criticism. She's heard it all before. Too sentimental, too young, and too dramatic. But this touched a different chord because it wasn't a sporting critique. This was an attempt to publicly disparage a 19-year-old who has already accomplished more than the majority of athletes could ever hope to.
After everything that happened on Thursday night, did you wake up feeling a little differently yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I just realized that I don't want that moment to happen again, like on court for sure. And yeah, I'm not someone who I don't want to show I guess weakness in moments, but after the match, I was thinking maybe it's not a weakness, it's just showing the things that happen in my head and not keeping it inside to the point where I can't play. But I felt with a new perspective, seeing how the support I've gotten since that moment, just seeing how proud of people are of me regardless of how I do here. So today I felt a lot lighter going on court, and I hope to continue feeling that light weight for the rest of the time here.
What happened next? The internet took off in a matter of minutes. The hashtags #DefendCoco and #Respect gained popularity. Supporters were furious. Athletes that spoke up for her included Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, and a number of WTA players. To be honest, when other participants publicly criticize a TV network for being out of line, that gives you all the information you need because it shows that the line was burned rather than just crossed. But in this instance, Coco showed everyone how real specialists manage circumstances. She didn't use the internet. She didn't scream. She didn't post an emotional video. She didn't say anything for a time, at least, because Coco was already planning her next move while everyone else was debating what she should do. Moreover, it wasn't an apology tour or a publicity stunt. It was a court case. It is accurate, yes. Coco Gauff and her legal team started analyzing the transmission. When the documents, which accused Fox Sports and the presenter of slander, mental suffering, and career harm, were finally made public, every statement, every video, and every response that followed rocked the sports world. A $50 million case has been filed by Coco Gauff. Money was not as crucial as respect. Let's be honest, $50 million isn't pocket money. But the money wasn't what was important. The point was the message. Disparaging athletes for the purpose of ratings and then ignoring it is unacceptable. This lawsuit made it clear. These days, athletes are more than just prey. Legal experts were prompt in sharing their thoughts. According to a civil attorney, this is more than just damages. It has to do with accountability. You cannot trash someone's character on national television and expect no consequences. She is right because Coco's fame goes beyond her private life. It is proficient. Her brand is her business. She has an unblemished public record, sponsorships with well-known companies, and millions of admirers worldwide. When a TV host implies that her success is phony, it is not just disrespectful, but also harmful to her career. Such a statement could have a detrimental effect on sponsorship renewals, tournament invites, and endorsements. As a result, Coco's group actively chased them. They described every legal claim, almost like a playbook. Defamation. The statements were false, misleading, and intentionally damaging. Emotional distress. The tone was not critical. It was an embarrassing event. Professional harm. By questioning her legitimacy, Fox put her income and relationships at risk. That's not commentary. That is sabotage. And Coco handled it so elegantly. When she finally spoke in public, she wasn't angry. It wasn't shielding. It was well-written, composed, and confident. I've always let my game speak for itself. In addition to injuring me, this is the fourth. Disseminating misleading information is disrespectful to all athletes who work hard to achieve their objectives. Here, fairness is at stake. Not a famous person. Boom. Just the facts. Nothing dramatic. Don't rant. Fans also loved it. She was referred to as a queen, a leader, and an inspiration in thousands of comments on her post. She handled it perfectly. Even the analysts who constantly criticize everyone had to admit. An ESPN anchor said, Coco Gauff just redefined athlete accountability. She is teaching the media that athletes aren't just props. She is also right because there are other parties to this lawsuit besides Coco and Fox. It has to do with how athletes, especially female athletes, are depicted in the media. For decades, commentators have gone too far, turning critical analysis into personal attacks. They have ridiculed things like relationships, feelings, and beauty that have nothing to do with sports. Athletes were made to absorb it, keep grinning, and carry on for years. However, it is no longer the case. Coco is claiming that you can criticize my serve rather than my character. And more athletes should set that limit. Fox Sports was obviously not amused by this. Their PR staff immediately published one of these boilerplate statements. We respect Coco Gauff as an athlete and hope she continues to have success. The comments weren't intended to be offensive. They were merely viewpoints. Translation: we made a mistake, so please don't sue us. It's too late. According to legal insiders, Coco has a strong case, and the action is moving forward since defamation law places a premium on purpose. In this case, the tone was also evident. The comments went beyond basic criticism, as even unbiased spectators could tell. They were meant to make her feel embarrassed. At that point, Fox violated your right to free speech and ended up costing you $50 million. To be honest, it's about time because TV hosts have acted as though sportsmen may be insulted just because they're well known for far too long. But celebrity does not mean being powerless. Coco's conduct shows that younger athletes aren't afraid to take revenge and will use any tool at their disposal, even the judicial system. This incident might go down in history as the turning point that made athletes unsuitable for shock value broadcasting. Now let's talk about what happened after the lawsuits received media notice. The host abruptly stopped talking after boasting about telling it as it was. There should be complete silence, no tweets, statements, or haughty outbursts. The silence that usually follows a lawyer's call. Conversely, Fox Sports was quite concerned because this was more than just a public relations problem. For the law, it was a nightmare. Slander cannot be undone, even if you apologize for your bad analysis. Not with thousands of broadcasts, recordings, and social media clips. In just a few hours, the video vanished from Fox's website. Their editors covertly removed it from replays, acting as though it had never occurred. But the internet never forgets. Fans saved and reposted it, making it one of the year's most popular sports videos. The worst thing is this: Coco didn't even need to defend herself. The public did it for her. claiming that the same network that supports free speech was suddenly unable to manage accountability. People denounced the hypocrisy. Even pundits from rival networks persisted in mocking Fox for using a tennis match as the subject of a lawsuit. One journalist provided the best description of it. "If you can't talk about an athlete without denigrating their character, maybe you shouldn't have a microphone. That's all." And as time went on, Fox's predicament worsened because, when legal experts started analyzing the case, they all reached the same conclusion. Coco has receipts. She is also right. It is clear how criticism differs from defamation. One media lawyer claims that when you imply that someone's accomplishment is fake or unjustified, you are criticizing their reputation rather than actual performance. In other words, instead of just passing the cue, Fox sprinted past it. At this point, the situation became even more awkward. Instead of abandoning Coco, prominent sponsors were reaching out to her to offer their support. Nike, New Balance, and a number of significant IT companies publicly praised her for standing up for herself. At that moment, the balance of power shifted. Coco was more than just an athlete now. She stood for the empowerment of athletes. A 19-year-old lady is holding one of the biggest media firms in the world accountable for its remarks. Think about how absurd that is. Most players would have just issued a generic statement, left it to their PR departments, and moved on. A lawsuit carrying Coco's name was successfully filed and made public. Sports networks started carefully examining their commentary guidelines since the lawsuit changed the discourse rather than just making headlines throughout the country. Producers issued memos about appropriate speech and tone. Posts about young athletes abruptly got very careful. Everyone is afraid of having a Fox moment. Even sports fans who normally don't give a damn about lawsuits were pleased because everyone has seen this pattern in their hearts, a network insider said. Instead of praising a young athlete who succeeds, the media disparages her. With the exception of her actual talent, they have doubts about everything about her, including her worth, disposition, and attitude. And Coco was tired of it. She refrained from venting online. She didn't show up on chat programs. She took action in response to it. This stung so deeply because she didn't react emotionally. It was computed. You can't argue with that. According to legal authorities, Fox's lawyers immediately began negotiating. It appears that Coco's team turned down their offer to come to a private agreement. Not quite yet, anyhow. Making money wasn't the sole goal here. As a result, they wanted everyone to see it. Setting a precedent was the aim. If she wins, a clear message will be sent to every sports network. Identity is immune to criticism, but performance is. Reputations cannot be destroyed, but statistics may be examined. The network's entire shock value strategy collapses if they start losing lawsuits like this, and seasoned journalists recognize that this case has the potential to transform sports media. In all honesty, that's a positive thing. Maybe it's time to start rewarding accuracy rather than volume. Coco kept doing what she does best, win, as the story went on. She attended competitions, played some of her greatest tennis of the season, and smiled for onlookers. Every victory seemed like a new reminder. It is impossible to destroy someone who is built on self-control and self-assurance. And that's why the point is so obvious. She's not angry. She is focused. As Fox tried to repair the damage, the public started to support Coco more and more. People adore an underdog story, but let's be honest, they appreciate a comeback even more when she defends herself. Beyond only defending her reputation, Coco Gauff did more. She came to stand in for any athletes who had ever encountered rudeness during live broadcasts. It is unrelated to ego. It is related to justice. In a statement, the WTA even supported her right to protect her reputation. They gave careful reporting and mental health a lot of weight. It's really a polite way of saying, Mia, stop acting like bullies. This is the beautiful irony. Coco was actually given more influence by the Fox anchor who had called her overhyped. Fans united because the case turned her from a tennis champion into a global icon of athlete empowerment. All of the networks that had previously ignored her now want to include her on their shows, and sponsors have stepped up their efforts. In the end, Fox delivered her the biggest publicity win of her career despite their attempts to disparage her. Even now, the lawsuit is still pending. Legal experts, however, think Coco has a decent shot. Even if it is resolved out of court, the message is already quite clear. It is not appropriate to treat athletes like they are in 1999. Not in the age of social media receipts and prompt accountability. Coco Gauff shown that modern athletes are not powerless. She defends her worth with courage and intelligence. To tell the truth, it is what distinguishes stars from legends. Because in the end, this is more than just a lawsuit. It's a major shift in sports culture. Coco served both justice and notice. So, what are your thoughts? Should Coco Gauff have given up, or was it appropriate for her to bring a $50 million lawsuit? Kindly express your thoughts in the space provided for comments below. Additionally, if you think that players should be valued both on and off the court, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell because this story isn't done yet.